Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charnley. This is another video of the historic Cumbrian church. It's my last in this particular, on this particular day, in fact. And I wanted to end with something very special. This is St. John's, Waberthwaite. There was a church here as early as 1200. The present building probably incorporates parts of it, but the oldest parts of the roof, so we know it was rebuilt around about 1550, so the middle part of the 16th century. And then in the latter part of the 17th century, it was extended. Now, it was extended, in fact, just to make sure I know, it was extended eastwards, so yes, I thought it was eastwards, so by 4 metres. So that's about 12 feet for those of you using the imperial measurements. The interior dates from about 1807, and it is a lovely example of a Georgian interior with box pews. There is a Jacobean pulpit, 17th century pulpit, but most of the furnishings here are not Victorian, they're Georgian in fact, and this is a beautiful Georgian building. There's royal arms dated to 1778, George III, and it's very, very simple. You've got 2 windows in the Orient south. In the north wall, there's 1 window at the west, there's 1 window at the east, and there's 1 window in the south. There are old Anglo-Saxon crosses in the graveyard, so we know there was a church here before the Norman conquest, or at least it was a place of worship. It's located down beside an estuary, right on the edge, in fact, of the land, a sort of place that the Vikings, when they came here, would have landed. So we'll have a look around the inside and point out some of the salient features here. As usual, we start at the west end. You can see the church warden staves, and you can see the box pews that not all the same size. The bigger ones would be more important. The font is Norman. The font is probably, it's about the time of the Norman conquest, a little bit later. Put away in a corner there. You've got to find somewhere to put it. We have here, these are oil lamps, 3 in a row down the middle, and there's a 4th at the back, and that's the singer's pew. That would have been where the musicians would have been at the back. Here is the royal arms I mentioned, 1778, George III, Hanoverian, of course. And the pulpit is now essentially a 2-decker. It would have been a 3-decker at one point. One of the few Victorian alterations here is they've taken down the pulpit a little bit. I mean, effectively it's a 3-decker. You've got a little desk here, you've got the reading desk here, so it still has a 3-decker effect, but it's not really a 3-decker anymore. The pew at the front here, this would probably have been the rectory pew. This would have been where the parsonage pew, this would have been where the parson's family sat. And the ones at the east end were the more prestigious. We've got the 10 Commandments, we've got the Lord's Prayer and the Creed, and in the middle we have the east window, and the only bit of stained glass in the entire building, Christ the Good Shepherd. This is, of course, sheep farming territory. The communion rails are gone for some reason. Hopefully they've gone to be restored somewhere. Back end of the pulpit, and lovely box pews, but it's so simple. It's a box, basically, for worship, with a flat ceiling, which makes very good acoustics. But it is a box for worship, and it's very much designed for the prayer book, so it's centred upon the pulpit and the reading desk, and then the clerk, of course, would lead the people in their responses. Not all of them could read, so they would follow along with him, or they'd just listen to him. That happens sometimes. But it's a very handsome building indeed. Very simple, and that's why I wanted to stop off here, just to give a bit of a brief tour. And you can see there's a singer's pew, full width at the back, and that's where the musicians would have been. And just have a look inside the box pews, you see you've got seating around, so you can have your children facing you and make sure you know what they're doing, if you want. So that is all Waberthwaite St John's. Originally St James's apparently, but they changed the dedication around about 1500. We don't know why. And so here we go. You see just where I stepped in front of it. There is the church, and it's so simple, so little. Just the one window in the middle here. So we'll have a look around the outside and see the Anglo-Saxon crosses, and then conclude. So Waberthwaite, and you can see here how simple it is, just the one window here and the big porch. The building is rendered, it always would have been. It protects it from the weather, protects the stone, and just the render gets worn off and has to be replaced every so often. So we'll walk up to the porch. If you visit here, and I would encourage you to do so if you can, there's usually a gate across to keep sheep out. I'll put it back when I finished, of course. But the gate is easily removable. The church is always open. And here is the setting. Here is the estuary. You can just see the sun sinking lower over the estuary, and out there is the Irish. The river flows out to the Irish Sea. This is bottom of Eskdale, basically. So we've been to the top, and this is now the bottom. This is where the river flows out into the Irish Sea. You can see here the wildflowers, crocuses scattering the churchyard. Absolutely gorgeous location. It's a bit off the beaten track. Basically, there's a signpost off the main road that says Waberthwaite Church and 1 mile, and it's at the very end of the road. You can see here basically the salt marsh and the deep channel, because it's tidal, and there flows out to the Irish Sea. How gorgeous is that view? Little 2 windows here on the north side. All these wildflowers. They are wildflowers. It's something you find in these Cumbrian churchyards. Not just Cumbrian churchyards, of course, but at this time of year. And up there, the old laundry, that's basically the church hall, or the village hall, which is a good thing to have. Bit of, well, solar panels on the roof, because I doubt it gets a huge amount of use, so useful to have a way of making a bit of money, because you can sell the energy back to the electricity companies. That's the East End. Very simple little sort of cross thing on the gable end, and finally we come to the Anglo-Saxon cross. You can see the shaft here is broken. The carving is very much like that at Urton, and daffodils scatter the churchyard. This has been a place of worship for a very, very long time. So that is Waberthwaite St John's. A little bit closer look at the cross, and again all the lichen on it. And out to sea, the river flows out to sea, and there's the church. I'll just pull back so I can try and get the church and the cross in the same frame. There we are. So there we go, and the churchyard scattered with the daffodils, and the last resting place of the great and the good here at Waberthwaite. Little church down by the estuary as the river flows out to sea. What a place to end a day. And so there you have it, St John's, Waberthwaite. I say, one of my favourite places in this part of Cumbria. Just this little church down by the estuary, down at the end of the lea, and so ancient place of worship since before the Norman Conquest, since first people sailed up the river and made their dwellings here. And so places like this that now seem on the edge of everywhere, they were actually at the the beginning of everywhere, because people landed their boats here and they then travelled inland. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.